Good Sunday afternoon. This is Mcwu with Madison County Weather Updates. It's about 12:10 as I'm starting this video. It's going to be 12:30ish or after before you get it. But I want to go over the severe risk for today, tomorrow, and Tuesday, maybe even into Wednesday. We'll see. But the main concern is going to be the next 2 to 3 days, as we're going to be in a setup that's going to be supportive of clusters of storms to come through. And before I go into that, I do want to say check out the pin posts at the top of the Facebook page and the Twitter page, X, for ways that you can donate to the page or subscribe to the page. And thank you so much to those of you who do so. And thank you so much to the sponsors that have been with this page and are with this page. And it's because of all of you that this page didn't terminate in 2020. But the way things are going right now, the way the economy is hitting everybody hard, people are dropping out as donors. We're losing some sponsors, maybe even a big one next year. We'll see. And the way things are going right now, December 31st will be the end of this page unless there's a significant turnaround on things. And the way the economy looks, I'm not anticipating that. But in the meantime, I'll continue to try to keep you safe and informed. So let's get into the severe. So here's the SPC outlook for today. They've pulled a slight risk for severe farther to the southeast and now encompasses much of Madison County. We're right on the fringe between marginal and slight. And again, as I always say, who cares about where the colors are and the lines are on the map? Just know severe is possible today. Tornado threat should be mostly to the north, but something can't be ruled out down here as well. But the main threat is going to be damaging winds. I'd also note that, and I'll show you here shortly with some simulated radar, storm coverage this afternoon and early evening is going to be very low. But just know that where something does pop up, there's enough in place that it could possibly go severe kind of quickly. So that's what we're looking at for today. The greater risks then begin to increase as we get into the uh, overnight hours into the early morning as we watch for our first organized cluster of storms. Here's a look at the SBC outlook for tomorrow. By tomorrow, the majority of the state is in a slight risk for severe, and nearly all but the far southern part of the state has a severe risk, period. Tomorrow will be the day that all modes of severe are on the table, but even at that, the tornado risk is 2 to 4%. And let me show you that real quick. Here are the tornado probabilities for tomorrow, basically coming down to about I-70 or so. And areas to the north will be where the tornado risk will be. Tomorrow, that's probability, 2 to 4% probability of a tornado within 25 miles of a given point. So they don't look like strong tornadoes, but it doesn't take much to do damage, obviously. But another thing we're going to need to watch out for is damaging winds, especially storms will be in a very moisture loaded setup and environment. There's a type of setup where these storms can become very moisture loaded and collapse and create microbursts, which can do as much damage as you know an F1 tornado at times. You can get microbursts that drop out, and the bad thing about them is they slam straight down out of the cloud. You don't see them coming. They hit the ground, then they spread out and do a wide area of damaging wind. So they can be, again, as we've seen multiple times in this county over the last several years, they can actually be very destructive forces themselves. Those are going to be on the table as we look at the damaging wind, the severe wind outlook for tomorrow. Again, it's a very large area as these clusters come through. If you get any cells on their own, just the line itself can bring some 60 or 70 mile per hour winds. But then if you get cells that are isolated where they can collapse, then you can end up with some microbursts in those isolated cells. By Tuesday, that threat's beginning to shift a little farther to the south and to the east. Again, all modes of severe will be possible, but damaging winds will remain as the main threat through all three of these days and numerous potential storm clusters. So I do want to take a quick look, just as look at the European model, and what we're looking at is I've seen a lot of posts over the last couple of months about the Ring of Fire, but that hasn't really been the setup. This one kind of is, and we've got this 588 line coming right through here, and right along in to the north and south of that, with right at the top of the ridge. A lot of times you'll get the core of the high pressure is back here to the southwest, and as these come across, especially if this kind of opens up and diverges a little bit more, where you can get a little bit better lift, you'll develop storm clusters that'll run along somewhere around this 588 line. And where this boundary actually sets up is going to dictate where these storm clusters go. But this is a setup where we really could see a ring of fire where we have multiple storm clusters coming through. I'll show you that here in just a second, but I just kind of wanted to show you we've got this high pressure sitting back here, low pressure sitting up here in Canada, and this gap right in between the two is where these storm clusters are going to want to develop and run. So I'm going to start with the RRFSA model. It seems to be the one that's been doing the best over the last couple of months with these severe setups. And of course, no model is 100%. We never can take them verbatim, and I really just kind of use these as a visual aid for you. But this was the one that tends to do the best. But I'll show you the HRRR as well because it's a little bit different. But here we are at 5 p.m. today, and you can see there's really nothing going on around Madison County. Maybe a few storms out here, but we got this low sitting up in here. And as we advance through 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, really nothing, all the way up through midnight, nothing really. This model doesn't have anything popping up in Madison County or central Indiana. But again, I will note if something isolated can pop up this afternoon and early evening, it will have the potential to go severe. The main thing we're watching are these clusters. You can see the first cluster kind of moved over. The second cluster is going to try to dive down into our area. And here we are at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. It's starting to bring the storm cluster into Madison County. 6 a.m., 7 a.m. It's the severe part is pushing well off to south of I-70 by that point, and then 8 a.m. it's got that cluster out of here. But then as we progress through the day, you can see more storms begin to organize themselves out to our northwest. So here we are at 3 p.m. tomorrow, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. It takes this cluster kind of over the top. Again, it's going to be where these will leave some boundaries that will change the way these clusters move. Where that 588 sets up is going to change the way these move. So the RRFSA takes a second cluster mostly over the top of us, and then we move on. But so again, we'll be keeping an eye on late tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow evening and see where that secondary cluster goes, if it even develops. It's not a guarantee it even develops. Then as we move on into Tuesday, we see as we're at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., we've got another cluster of storms, pretty intense storms, and it does bring it through the Madison County and Delaware County, Henry County areas, and it develops that, moves it on off, and then we get later in the day, and here we are at 3 p.m. Here comes another one of these storm clusters. 4 p.m., 5 p.m. It's blasting us through. This is on Tuesday. It's blasting, and this would have us right on the nose where some of the strongest winds will be just to the north of that nose. So again, no, this is not exactly where this stuff is going to go. It pushes that cluster on out by 7 p.m. It's some lingering, potentially severe storms as we get into the this is by 10 p.m. Tuesday. Then the majority of that activity will move on, but you can see it still has some residual storms popping up back here around 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. on Wednesday before it moves that stuff on out of there. That is actually that all the way up to 7 a.m. Wednesday is part of that Tuesday SPC outlook. So it's sometimes those SPC outlooks run until 7 a.m., kind of create some confusion on what day is actually affected. So again, we'll watch all the way into early Wednesday morning for severe potential, and then the majority of that activity gets out, and then we'll just change to more uh, thunderstorm activity. Although the RRFSA does bring another cluster through on Wednesday, drops it off farther to our west. I do expect the SPC, I didn't show it to you, but they have the severe threat moving all the way over into southeastern Ohio on Wednesday. I do not think that is correct. I think they're going to have to pull that back to the west, but we'll deal with that as it gets a little closer. Anything out this far, it's all in where boundaries set up, as to where these storms go. But that's kind of what the RFS has on it. So again, not much today. Our main severe threat will come into the late overnight or very early morning hours, somewhere in the maybe 5 to 8 a.m. time frame tomorrow. We'll be watching for the first of the storm clusters. Then we'll watch late tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening for a second storm cluster. Then we'll watch for at least one, maybe two again on Tuesday, and possibly yet another one early Wednesday. And again, RRFS says maybe watch out for one late Wednesday. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I do want to show you the difference in the HRRR real quick. So let's pick this up. This is at 10 p.m. tonight. And you can see it is dropping this cluster off, and it is farther to the northeast with the main cluster. So here we are at 6 a.m. It's actually keeping the real severe farther over, maybe from Muncie and east, and keeping Madison County back here on the back edge of the storm activity where we could have some storms and some moderate to heavy rain, but the severe would mostly be to our northeast and east. And then it gets that on through. You remember the RRFS wanted to run that afternoon cluster, farther to our north. But the HRRR says no, it comes through here in the around 4 p.m., 3 to 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, and goes through. So there are some differences in the model data, and we can never take the models as gospel. You can see as we get into Tuesday morning, then it's way farther east with the Tuesday morning storm cluster. So again, the RRFS, I showed you that one because it's tended to do better with these, but we'll monitor this, see how this all sets up, and if we get something organized where I need to go live, I will. Otherwise, I mean, and I will keep you updated regardless. But just know that again, most of today should be pretty quiet. It's going to be as we get into the 5 to 8 a.m. time frame tomorrow that we'll begin to watch for these storm clusters to come through about every you know 10 to 14 hours from each other. So that's what I've got for you right now. This is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates. Have a great day, and hopefully, we can get a little bit of sunshine before we get into a very active week coming ahead. When you see my forecast, there will be a lot of icons on it. There are going to be daily rain and storm chances. That does not mean that every day is a washout. It just means that every day there's going to be these boundaries just hanging out in the area, these waves coming over the top of that ridge where we could be dealing with some rain and storms just in periods. So it's going to look it's going to be an active period, but it does not look like it's going to be a constant washout. Another thing I need to point out is the potential for localized heavy rain with some of these. Again, it's going to be a very moisture loaded setup, especially tomorrow and Tuesday. That some of these storms, even if you don't get severe, you could get some torrential downpours, and that could put down 2 to 4, maybe 5 inches of rain in a short period of time. So we'll monitor this. I'll update you as needed. This is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates. Have a great day.